What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. I asked you guys in the Discord here this week to drop your start-sit questions in the Discord chat. I would be going through here today through that chat, looking at your start-sit questions and answering all of those for you. I got my rankings pulled up on the screen here for week one. I can't believe week one is already here. But let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into it and let's start looking at some of these questions and start giving you guys some answers. All right, so the first question I have here is from Juicebox. He says full PPR, he needs a flex play. He's talking about Calvin Ridley or TreVeyon Henderson. When I look at my rankings right now, Calvin Ridley is currently my wide receiver 33. He does have a tough matchup against Denver on the road. Should see a lot of Pat Surtain in that game. When I look at TreVeyon Henderson, he's currently my running back 20, full PPR in a game against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm probably going to be leaning with TreVeyon Henderson. He's going to be my play. I'm not too worried about the depth chart saying that he is RB3 right now. Not too worried about that one. Shake says full PPR. He's looking for DeAndre Swift or Travis Hunter. Right now, DeAndre Swift is currently my running back 24 in my rankings. He gets the Minnesota Vikings. That has been a little bit of a tougher run defense, but still a matchup that I think I'm fine with DeAndre Swift. Looking at Travis Hunter, he's currently sitting as my wide receiver 36, so just on the fringe as a low-end wide receiver 3 this week. I kind of want to see what it looks like week one with Travis Hunter potentially playing a little bit of defense, playing some offense. I want to see what it looks like. So give me DeAndre Swift. I think he's guaranteed to see a workload here for the Chicago Bears and should be fine. Steeltown Gator says start 2. He has Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, TreVeyon Henderson, Terry McLaurin, and Jaylen Waddle. So we don't know whether this is full PPR or half PPR. I'm just going to operate as if it is a PPR league. I'm looking at Jeudy right now. He's my wide receiver 25. Devonta Smith is my wide receiver 24. Like I said, Henderson's my running back 20. Terry McLaurin is my wide receiver 21. So looking at this list, if I have to pick two of them, the two highest ranked guys in my rankings will be Terry McLaurin and Devonta Smith. I think those are two players that we can definitely play. McLaurin, missed a little bit of the preseason. We'll see what happens. It should be back to business. That New York Giants defense isn't too intimidating to me. And Devonta Smith gets a good matchup on Thursday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys, they've ranked 27th last year against the wide receiver position, giving up about 30.8 fantasy points per game to that group. So if things continue, obviously it's tough to know, if we get some correlation from last year's production to now. We obviously want to see a couple of weeks of football so we can get some new data. But based off of what we can look at, it should be a pretty decent matchup for Devonta Smith. Dead Centered says Superflex, half PPR, pick 3, Tet McMillan, DeAndre Swift, Jaylen Waddle, RJ Harvey, and Ricky Pearsall. This one's pretty easy for me. I'm going with Tetairoa McMillan. I'm going DeAndre Swift. I'm going Jaylen Waddle. I think RJ Harvey's a player that's hard for me to project week one. I kind of have him more as a running back 3 in my rankings. I don't know how much J.K. Dobbins is going to be involved, so I'd like to see that a little bit more. And when it comes to Ricky Pearsall, I just think he's a player that I'm going to be viewing as a wide receiver 3 in week one. I kind of want to see it come to life. Seattle is a good divisional matchup. I think their defense is pretty solid. Tetairoa McMillan, it's easier to project, one, a good matchup against Jacksonville based off of last year's statistics. Also, he's going to have a very high target share, I think, in this offense. So give me those guys, Tet, Swift, and Jaylen Waddle. Tojo says PPR, Shakir or Myers. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. I think it's a little bit easier to trust him. He's kind of a high floor, low ceiling type of play. I think Shakir is kind of similar, but Shakir is going to be limited, I think, a little bit by that ankle. He's had some time to heal, but usually we need to see a little bit of a ramp up period. So give me Jacoby Myers here in week one. Sevlon says running back, he needs Jerome Ford or Nick Chubb. I'm going to go with Jerome Ford over Nick Chubb in week one. I don't trust that Houston Texans offensive line. I do think that Woody Marks is going to be a little bit involved, and maybe even potentially Dameon Pierce is involved as well. Chubb is just a player that I'm not very excited about. I think right now in my rankings, I currently have him as my running back, 39 in my rankings. Jerome Ford's a player that I think I can project a little bit better of a workload in week one. Coming in as my running back 32, he gets that Cincinnati defense. That's a weak defense. Should have some opportunities to potentially run on them. Justin says pick 2 full PPR. He has Zay, Pearsall, and Kupp. I'm personally going to be going with Zay Flowers and Ricky Pearsall. Cooper Kupp's a player that I'm not very excited about this year. I have him currently as my wide receiver 44 in my week one rankings. It is a tougher matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. Pearsall, like I said, he's in that wide receiver 3 range for me, coming in as the wide receiver 34, and I have Zay Flowers even higher than that as my wide receiver 26. So give me those 2 players. Now choose 2 in a PPR league for Bingo. He says Deebo Samuel, Omarion Hampton, or RJ Harvey. I think the two players I'm going with are Omarion Hampton, who is currently my running back 19 in my rankings, and Deebo Samuel, who's my wide receiver 38. RJ Harvey, like I said, tough for me to project him earlier in the season until we see a little bit of J.K. Dobbins getting worked into this offense. But I think Deebo and Hampton should be fine plays. Green Bay all day says Superflex, tight end premium, and PPR. He wants Jayden Reed or Marvin Mims. To be honest, I'm not very confident throwing Jayden Reed out there. I'm also not very confident throwing Marvin Mims out there. I guess if I have to pick between the two in my league, I'm probably going to go with Marvin Mims. You're hoping that he gets a big play. Obviously, it's Courtland Sutton and then some guys behind him. He's kind of recovering from an injury as well. I guess it's going to be Marvin Mims, but I really wouldn't want to play either of these two guys if I don't have to in one of my leagues. Rockin' Soren to Victory says, in a 12-team, one quarterback, half PPR league, would you rather roll with Tucker Kraft or Travis Kelce? I would definitely roll with Travis Kelce in week 1. Obviously, no Rashee Rice. He's a player that I currently have as a top 5 tight end play on the week, so I would be going with Travis Kelce. And then he says, for my flex starting spot, would you rather play JSN, Marvin Harrison, or Javonte Williams instead of what I've got set now? And it looks like right now he has Henderson and Drake London. I think I would go with JSN over TreVeyon Henderson in that lineup, but that would probably be the only change that I would make. JSN over Henderson in your lineup this week. Brachiosaurus says 12-team Superflex tight end premium. You start 8 players. He's debating between Xavier Worthy and DJ Moore. I'm going with DJ Moore. I think it's a great matchup for him. Minnesota's pass defense was pretty weak last year. They gave up a lot of points to the wide receiver position specifically. They were dead last, actually, last year, giving up 34.5 fantasy points per game. So DJ Moore, he comes in for me here this week as my wide receiver 17. Worthy is my wide receiver 23, so give me DJ Moore in this scenario. Now, Mad Dog says half PPR, Ekeler, Pearsall, or Waddle. Waddle's going to be the highest wide receiver in my rankings at the wide receiver 29. Pearsall's at the wide receiver 34. But I really do like Austin Ekeler as a play this week. He comes in as my running back 25. I think it's easy to project a workload for him. He has a pretty solid matchup against the New York Giants. Their defensive line is pretty strong, but I do think he's going to get some of the receiving work and some of the other things involved. Should have some goal line opportunities for the Commanders here this week as well. So I'm definitely going to go with Austin Ekeler, but it would be between him and Waddle if you prefer the wide receiver position. Floorkilla says start a running back 2 in full PPR. He's between Jaden Blue, Caleb Johnson, Rico Dowdle, and Raheem Mostert. And these are some deep pulls. I'm not going to lie. I think the highest one in my rankings is going to be Caleb Johnson. He's my running back 38, so I'm not expecting like a huge week from him. My second highest would probably be Rico Dowdle, but it's going to be Caleb Johnson. He's the player that I will play. You hope that he can get into the goal line. You hope that he can get into the end zone. If he doesn't, you're probably not excited about what he's going to give you, but give me Caleb Johnson, even though I do view him as kind of a bench play this week, and I wouldn't be super confident playing him. Batterhausen says flex spot PPR. He wants James Conner, Kamara, or Pickens. For me, I'm picking between the 2 running backs. It's Conner and Kamara that are the top of the list for me, and I'm going to go with James Conner. He gets the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints were a very good matchup to the running back position last year, giving up tons of fantasy points per game. It should be a very positive game script. We don't think that Saints team is going to be very good, and they should be running the football a lot in the second half. So give me Conner here in this situation. You could go Kamara as well. Ideally, I'd like to get both of them in my lineups because Kamara on the opposite side, they should be passing the football a lot. Maybe he gets some receptions in a full PPR league. But I like Conner just a little bit more as the play here this week. P-Star Funk says pick a rookie wide receiver to play, Travis Hunter or Matthew Golden. I personally like Travis Hunter just a little bit more. It's not by a lot. Travis Hunter is my wide receiver 36 on the week against Carolina, and I have Matthew Golden as my wide receiver 42. Both should be pretty decent, but I do think that Detroit matchup is a little bit of a tougher secondary to go against than the one that Travis Hunter is going against here this week. Next question from KW. He says, full PPR, start 1. It's DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, or TreVeyon Henderson. And I kind of talked about it already with DJ Moore, but I love his matchup this week. Think that secondary is still a little bit weak. Should be a high-scoring game. Give me DJ Moore. Think he's a great play this week for your fantasy football teams. Ryo says, flex 2 players. He has Darnell Mooney, Jameson Williams, TreVeyon Henderson, and Caleb Johnson. And this one's very easy. It's Jameson Williams. It's TreVeyon Henderson for me. I'm not playing Caleb Johnson if I don't have to. And Darnell Mooney, he is just not in my top 40 wide receivers in my rankings this week. So give me the other 2, Jameson Williams and TreVeyon Henderson. Andy says start one in PPR. He has Breece Hall, DJ Moore, and Tetairoa McMillan. Well, I like DJ Moore over Tetairoa McMillan in my rankings. When I look at Breece Hall, he's currently my running back 17. They did just lose Elijah Vera Tucker. I think in a full PPR, give me DJ Moore. I'm going to roll with the Bears, and I'm going to take him in my lineup and start him in that situation. Moving on to Bingo's question. He has a PPR question for his flex spot. Breece Hall or TreVeyon Henderson? I will go with Breece Hall. It's very close in my rankings. I have Breece as my running back 17, and I have TreVeyon Henderson as my running back 20. But I do think Breece Hall could have a chance at getting into the end zone here this week, and I do think he is still the running back 1 in that offense. I don't expect TreVeyon Henderson to be given a full workload right away. Both of these guys are probably RB2 plays at best, but I do think I'm going to go with Breece Hall here. One quarterback, Dak or Jordan Love. Looking at my rankings going into the week, it is a little bit of a tough matchup for Dak Prescott. That Philly defense is very good. They are going to be on the road. It's probably a week where I'm not trying to play Dak Prescott. You can if you have to, but because of that, I am going to go with Jordan Love. He's recovering from the thumb injury, but it shouldn't hinder him too much. Should be a shootout game against the Lions in division, and they are going to be the home team. So give me Jordan Love here this week over Dak Prescott. Sedated Fork says start 2 in a PPR league. He's looking at a list of Calvin Ridley, Emeka Egbuka, Hollywood Brown, J.K. Dobbins, and Jayden Reed. And this one's very easy for me as well. I'm not taking Hollywood. I'm not taking Dobbins. I'm not taking Reed. It's Calvin Ridley and it's Emeka Egbuka. Both of those players I'm viewing as high-end wide receiver 3s to safe wide receiver 3 plays, depending on your league and depending on how these game scripts go. But give me Calvin Reed and Egbuka in this situation. P-Star says pick one to start at the tight end position in week 1. It's Colston Loveland or it's Dalton Kincaid. Really looking at these two guys, it's going to be tough for me to trust either one of them. Both of these guys are outside of my top 12 at the position. I do think if I have to pick between one of the two, I am going to go with Dalton Kincaid. The matchup is fine, I think, against Baltimore. They are a good defense, but they were vulnerable enough to the tight end position last year. I don't think Kincaid is really going to be in a full-time role at all this year either, which is a little bit unfortunate. But Colston Loveland, the rookie tight end going into his first week, I'm probably just going to go with Kincaid. But neither of these guys, I think, are top 12 plays at the position. Earthworm says start 3 of 4. He has a full PPR and a half-point tight end premium. He has Hawkinson, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Tyrone Tracy. And if we're starting 3, really the question is who's the one guy you're benching, and the guy I'm benching is Tyrone Tracy. Yak says start 1, Devonta Smith, Chris Olave, Courtland Sutton. I would be starting Courtland Sutton. He's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, even though it is going to be a little bit of a tougher matchup. Tennessee was very good against the wide receiver position last year from a defensive standpoint. I do think he's a play that we can view as a top 20 play at the position this week. Now, Yak also asked a start 2 question as far as Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Swift, Zay Flowers, and Ricky Pearsall. I'm going to be going with Garrett Wilson, who currently sits as my wide receiver 18 in my rankings. And it's going to be between Zay Flowers, who's my wide receiver 26, and DeAndre Swift, who's my running back 24. I think I'm going to go with Zay Flowers, though, the wide receiver over the running back, especially since it is a full PPR league. So give me Garrett Wilson and Zay Flowers. Dylan says full PPR, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Courtland Sutton. And this is a good question to finish it off on because this is the last start-sit question that we have here. Marvin Harrison is my wide receiver 19 on the week. Courtland Sutton is my wide receiver 20 on the week. So these guys are back-to-back in a full PPR. I think the safe play, the safe floor play is going to be Courtland Sutton, but I'm going to be starting Marvin Harrison Jr. I think this matchup against the New Orleans Saints is going to be very vulnerable, and I think he can go out there and give you a decent week 1 where you're going to be looking at him and being very excited about a potential year 2 breakout. So give me Marvin Harrison Jr. there. So there you have it, folks. We sped through these as quickly as we could, trying to give you guys some answers to those start-sit questions. Hopefully you guys had a chance to listen to this, get those questions answered, and get those fixes into your lineup as we head into week 1. Good luck to everybody who did ask a question. Hopefully you guys go get that win. And I have nothing else for you guys today. So we will see you on the next episode. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you join the Nerd Herd. See you on the next one. Peace out.